Friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. In Star Wars, people are created differently. They're just different classes of warriors. You have your more puny races that are smaller stature, then you have humans and near humans, and then larger alien races like Wookiees and Trandoshans. There are also some freakish mutant creatures that have extraordinary strength or abilities like the Jedi or Neti. And then on top of that, if you add Force sensitivity, you give them even a wider range of abilities and skills. Now, generally speaking, Force users should be able to handle anyone in one-on-one combat. If you look at the Clone Wars or Galactic Civil Wars, the chances of a Jedi or Sith being killed by a non-Force user was relatively low. But that's to be expected. A Sith or Jedi could predict and see enemy attacks coming. They also had enhanced speed, strength, reflexes, and durability. They were always one step ahead of the curve, but back in the Old Republic era, things were a little bit different. The Jedi Order and Sith Empire used to enter the battlefield with hundreds if not thousands of their followers, which meant that normal everyday soldiers also had to stand up and fight against these super beings with Force powers. Today we'll be telling you guys the story of Havoc Squad, an elite Republic commando unit that fought against the Sith Empire and its legions of dark side Force users. We'll take a look at the wider history of the Old Republic during this period of time and what role Havoc Squad had to play in it. In 5000 BBY, the Old Sith Empire shocked the Old Republic by launching a surprise attack from the unknown region. The Sith were descendants of the original exiled Jedi who were pushed from the Order during the Great Schism. For almost 2,000 years, the Sith had built an empire on Korriban, leading to their own golden age of prosperity and growth. The Old Sith Empire first caught the Old Republic off guard with their invasion. They even managed to reach Coruscant and bombard its surface. But eventually, the Republic's massive economy kicked into gear and started churning out war material, and the Republic was able to turn the fight against the Sith, forcing them to retreat back to their home world. The devastation that the Sith had brought to the Republic was so great that Supreme Chancellor Pultimo ordered Republic forces to chase the Sith all the way back to Korriban and completely wipe out all of their planets and anyone on it. This was a complete genocide and led to the extinction of the Sith race, a species not to be confused with the Sith Order. Now, one Sith Lord managed to escape this Republic onslaught. His name was Vitiate. And together with his most loyal followers, the Sith Empire continued to exist in secret, building their strength and military forces on the world of Dromund Kaas. Finally, in 3681, Vitiate's hidden Sith Empire is ready to finally come out of hiding and strike out against the Republic. Vitiate spent 300 years actively trying to prepare for this invasion. The Sith had sent various proxies like the Mandalorians or Revan's fallen Jedi fleet to weaken the Republic. Sith agents had also infiltrated the Republic government, including key positions in the Outer Rim systems. The Old Republic at the time was still a bureaucratic mess and very slow to react to any type of crisis. The first world that the Sith Empire would target would be their ancient homeworld of Korriban, where their brethren were massacred thousands of years ago. Korriban at the time was guarded by a small token force garrisoned on a Republic space station. The station was quickly taken and most of the defenders were slaughtered. One small group ship did manage to escape in time, but they weren't able to warn the rest of the Republic about the Sith invasion. But even if the Republic had been warned, the Senate was full of political infighting, and many of the factions probably would have utilized the Sith invasion for their own personal political gain. One of the survivors of this opening battle was Jace Malcolm, a member of the Republic military's 1st Special Force unit known as Havoc Squad, or Infantry Squad 326. Havoc Squad was an experimental unit that was designed to function behind enemy lines with little or no support. These units were essentially supposed to handle the same type of jobs that Jedi Task Force were usually sent on. During the Clone Wars era, the Republic would also utilize Republic commandos for missions where Jedi were not available. Due to the massive amount of territory that the Old Republic had to basically guard and watch over, they decided a small, quick reaction force that could be sent behind enemy lines would be a good idea. Which is exactly what the Republic needed as they began losing territory at an alarming rate to the Sith. Many worlds simply just disappeared and lost communications with the Republic. Whatever token military forces that the Republic had left on those worlds were usually slaughtered. The war would continue on for several more years, and Jace Malcolm would actually become the captain of Infantry Squad 326. Now, technically speaking, Havoc Squad would usually be deployed with larger divisions of infantry. Even badass commandos need logistical support. But Malcolm's squad basically operated independently, often going on missions without any backup. In 3667 BBY, 14 years into the war, not even core worlds like Alderaan were safe from the Sith invasion. Alderaan was considered the cultural and social center of the galaxy. Havoc Squad, like many other units returning from the front, would either pass this idyllic world or stay from some well-deserved R&R. When the massive Sith invasion fleet appeared overhead, the Alderaanian home defense fleet was absent. The Sith quickly obliterated any fixed defenses or military garrisons on the surface of the planet. At a quick glance, it looks like the Republic military has been completely wiped out in one swift blow. But in fact, many of the Republic troopers that were in transit or resting on the planet managed to make it into the woods and mountains to hide out. Malcolm's Havoc Squad happened to be one of these units, and they were now gathering resources for a quick strike back. Despite lacking air cover, reinforcements, and heavy weapons, Jace Malcolm and Havoc Squad begin preparing their counterattack against the Sith. These individuals are highly trained in irregular fighting styles like guerrilla warfare, and also know how to especially deal with Sith warriors who are force capable. For instance, Havoc Squad doesn't just use blasters, they also have grenade launchers and other explosive weapons that Force users can't deflect back with the Force or their lightsabers. Havoc Squad positioned themselves in the Duran Mountains right outside of Alderaan's capital city. Hidden on a ridge above one of the main roads leading into the city, Havoc Squad jumped into action as the main Sith column advanced on the city. The heavily armored soldiers use the element of surprise to catch the Sith off guard. They have the momentum in the beginning of the battle, but eventually the Sith warriors are able to regroup. Their numbers and force powers are just too great for Havoc Squad to overcome. Luckily, Republic forces are reinforced by a single Jedi, Satele Shan, a descendant of Bastila Shan and Revan. She single-handedly neutralizes the Sith commander, giving Havoc Squad respite just long enough so that they can regroup. Aside from their anti-Sith combat training, Havoc Squad was also heavily armored to deal with all sorts of attacks. Their full body armor is actually reminiscent to something you might see a Mandalorian or a clone trooper wear. Not only is the armor incredibly blast resistant, it can even take the incoming damage from a Sith lightning strike, which means it's great at conducting energy. But it isn't durable enough to absorb lightsabers. Havoc Squad and Satele Shan managed to win their skirmish against the Sith, which eventually leads to even more victories all across Alderaan. Once the Sith were kicked from Alderaan, a cascade of Republic victories followed, and the Republic military began reclaiming the Mid-Rim. The Republic were quickly gaining momentum against the Sith, but that abruptly stopped. Sensing a stalemate, both sides agreed to hold peace talks on Alderaan. Surprisingly, the talks had been initiated by the Sith, something that went against their nature. While the Jedi Council and Senate met with officials from the Empire, a secret Sith fleet invaded Coruscant and destroyed all of its defenses and sacked the Jedi Temple, slaughtering everyone inside of it. The Sith then stormed the Senate building and executed the Supreme Chancellor. With Coruscant firmly in Sith hands and the government completely toppled over, Republic diplomats at Alderaan were forced to accept an extremely unfair peace treaty. The Republic and Jedi were forced to stand down and withdraw from worlds that would be ceded to the Sith Empire. The Republic also had to recognize the Sith Empire as the legitimate ruler for half of the galaxy. Because the Sith Empire was viewed as completely abhorrent and evil, the idea of settling into a peace deal with them was extremely unpopular all throughout the Old Republic. Havoc Squad would eventually fall under the control of Haran Tavis. He would lead the Special Forces units on several battles against the dreaded Imperial Shadow Fist unit. Havoc Squad was also present during the sacking of Coruscant, but were unable to prevent the Sith from taking over the city. Most members of Havoc Squad disliked the peace treaty because it prevented them from attacking the Sith Empire. The group would splinter, and some members would even defect to the Imperial side. Their legacy as the Republic's first Special Forces unit, however, would endure. For the rest of the Republic's history, ordinary men and women would be trained and equipped to fight alongside the Jedi in the most dangerous parts of the battlefield and help them achieve victory. So there you have it, guys. That is the story of the Republic's first Special Forces unit. As you can see, the Galactic Republic and the Jedi are pretty cyclical in how they deal with the Sith. They basically repeat the same mistakes over and over again. They don't ever learn from their history, which is something that we all should do so we can avoid our past mistakes. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. And as usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.